Good day to all of you around the planet. Thank you for joining me again. We're meeting every day in April at noon Pacific time to be light holders, faith keepers, and flame bearers. And I just appreciate so much this time being with you. We begin with our daily viral doses of kindness. And I want to highlight Tammy B, who wrote in and said, I work at a retirement village where my job is now delivering food to our residents. These people pay an exorbitant amount of money to live there, yet one man always tips us for each meal, 3 times a day. Tipping isn't allowed, but he says he doesn't care because he's so thankful for what we're doing. It amounts to quite a bit a month for him, but he says he's retired and he can spend his money any way he chooses. So if you'd care to type in some viral act of kindness, not so much during the chat, but afterwards, a good chance I will read it to highlight people who are doing good and holding the vision during this time. Speaking of holding the vision, I have a powerful, powerful testimonial on immunity. Now, a lot of us are concerned about immunity these days. We don't want to get the virus, don't want our loved ones to. And we're taking vitamin A and vitamin D and washing our hands and wearing masks and doing many appropriate things that will help us. Now, CDC and World Health Organization have many, many powerful and helpful tools. However, most of them do not deal with the spiritual level of immunity, which runs deeper and is actually even more powerful. So my friend Mindy Cowan sent me an amazing article from the Christian Science Monitor. It's actually 100 years old, but truth is true forever. So let me read this to you. It's just mind-blowing. It says, 50 young sailors volunteered to become influenza victims. It was an experiment that the Navy was doing, that the doctors might study the disease more carefully. These young men had no fear of disease. They willingly offered themselves. They were placed with flu patients. They were given jars of flu germs, which they breathed into their lungs. They had flu germs injected into their bodies. Then the medical men prepared to study the cases as they developed. They went to this island called Goat Island. But no cases developed among these 50 sailors. These men had been inoculated. They had been exposed to the disease in every manner. They had breathed in the germs and eaten and slept with flu victims. And not one of them became infected. The medical men confessed themselves baffled. All their ideas of the disease were turned topsy-turvy. The masks were not needed. It was shown that the disease was not communicable, not contagious. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to give up masks and washing hands. I'm saying to do all those things because I think they are important. Don't get me wrong. But I am saying there's another level of immunity. The doctors were still wondering. I'm skipping here. It says, they showed they clearly did not fear the disease. In other words, they could not acquire what they did not fear. Since their fear of the disease was gone, the disease was absolutely non-existent, even though every effort was made to force it on them. This is pure Christian Science. This is pure Course in Miracles. Once again, I'm not saying put yourself at danger if you feel it would be a danger. I'm saying that there's another level of immunity. There can be no clearer nor better proof of the oft-stated and rapidly being accepted fact that mind controls matter. Medical men are the first to tell patients to eliminate fear. There would be no cases of influenza if every person in the state would do as these 50 Goat Island sailors did, namely eliminate fear of the disease. And so while coronavirus is indeed a problem, fear is a bigger problem. And what happens is when you get afraid, your resistance goes down. When you get courageous and relaxed and trusting and whole, your natural immunity raises. Now, I have some other examples of this. Many years ago, I visited Russia. We were on a citizen diplomacy mission, and our group was taken to a little village away outside of Moscow. And we were taken to a church there where the people in that village have traditionally venerated the Virgin Mary, the Mother Mary. And the story goes that at the time there was a plague that was running rampant in the country. And these people were so devoted in their faith to Mother Mary that not one person in the village contracted the plague. Now, you could work this two ways. You could say, well, the Virgin Mary did intercede and protect them, which is certainly quite possible. And you could also say that these people's faith in wellness and wholeness and a higher power protected them. Now, let's return to the Course in Miracles for a moment. There are two very powerful lessons in the Course that I want to highlight at the moment. One is lesson 76, which says, I am under no laws but God's. And it goes on to say that in the physical world, the 3D world, we tend to believe that we're subject to all kinds of limiting laws, laws of health, laws of immunity. It even says in the Course in Miracles the laws of immunization, the laws of economics, the laws of social reciprocity. And there's all kinds of laws that people believe are the ultimate laws. And the Course is telling us that there's really a higher law. And it says that the laws of God. And the laws of God state that as spiritual beings, we're whole. We cannot be touched by disease. That when we're aligned with Spirit, we're at our healthiest. That Spirit is protecting us. Again, I'm not saying don't wear your mask or don't wash your hands or don't touch people. I'm saying that we're rising to another vibrational frequency where there's a higher law that rules. There's another lesson from the Course that I really love, and it's lesson 50. And it says, I am sustained by the love of God. I'm sustained by the love of God. And it says that, you think that your food sustains you. In a way it does. You think that money sustains you. You think that your family sustains you. You think that your house sustains you. You think that the government sustains you. You think that your job sustains you. But really, all of these outlets are venues for spiritual love that comes to us through various ways on earth. And it's really ultimately the love of God that sustains us. And just think of it, your heart is beating, and you're not in control of beating your heart. You don't know how it beats when you sleep, it beats when you're paying attention to other things. Your lungs are breathing, your stomach is working. All the trillions of metabolic processes are happening in your body at this very moment, and you're not really in charge of them. I mean, maybe just a tiny bit. But at this moment, God wants you to be healthy, and God wants you to live, and God wants you to be happy. And it's that spiritual life force that sustains us. And that's the life force that will carry us through the coronavirus pandemic. It will carry us through any kind of economic conditions. There is a higher power that is very real and working, even while the appearance of disease or economic setback seems to be very real from a human perspective. I once saw a great bumper sticker. It said, nature bats last. Nature bats last. And, real nature is God's nature, that the spiritual reality is the ultimate reality. Lots of New Age aphorisms and New Thought aphorisms say, well, you create your own reality. Well, that's not really true. That's half true. You create your own experience of reality by your thoughts. However, there is a reality that is intact, and the reality was here before you were here, and will be here after you're here. And there is a reality that says the universe is founded in utter eternal love, that there is only life, that well-being is the dominant condition of the universe. And then the aberration to well-being is a momentary glitch on the big screen. Now, if you're focused, really focused in on the glitch, then that seems to be the truth. Someone once said if 98% of your life is working and 2% is not working, but you give 100% of your attention to the 2% that isn't working, in that moment, in your experience, 100% of your life is not working. You get it? Because where you pay your attention to, what you pay attention to seems real. On the other hand, 98% of your life cannot be working, but 2% could be working. And if you put 100% of your attention on the 2% that is working, in that moment, in your experience, 100% of your life is working. So what we're highlighting today is the power of attention, the power of focus, the power of frequency. In a future daily dose, I will talk about how we raise our frequency to rise above disease. So the question is, where are you putting your attention? If you're watching the news for many hours a day, you're probably putting your attention on depressing information. So what I'm attempting to do during this homestay, as I'm hoping you are, is to really give as much attention as possible to healing. I'm meditating, praying, doing yoga, I'm doing the daily dose, doing my Course in Miracles lesson. I'm preparing a new course that's going to start in a month or two. And so I'm doing my very best to really stay in the high vibration because I know that's where my immunity lives. And of course, I'm not special. We all have that same power to rise to the high vibration. I'll tell you another good story. I saw a video many years ago about Mother Teresa. And at the time, there was a war in Lebanon. And she heard that in Beirut, there was a children's hospital. And there was a war going on around them. So she made an announcement that she was going to take a bunch of her nuns and go into the heart of the war zone and extricate these children from the hospital and save them from the war. And she did exactly that. She rented a couple trucks and got her nuns in these trucks. And there's the most amazing video that as Mother Teresa entered the city, both warring factions declared a ceasefire in respect for what she was doing. And this video shows these both armies were standing on both sides of the street, guns down, as Mother Teresa went through the street with her trucks. They scooped up the children from the hospital. They quietly drove out of the city, and then the guys went back to shooting each other. But for that moment, love eclipsed fear. And love is always more powerful than fear. Faith is always more powerful than mistrust. Flow is always more powerful than resistance. And I love that old poem, fear knocked at the door, faith answered, and no one was there. So bless those 50 sailors who subjected themselves to influenza but didn't get it, because their faith was greater than their fear. And their connection to higher power was more substantial than their belief in the three-dimensional world. Now, once again, please don't misquote me. Continue to wash your hands, wear your mask, don't touch people, stay home, whatever you believe you need to do to be safe and happy and healthy. At the same time, raise your frequency so you are not subject to fear. We all go into fear. I've gone into it. But the question is, what do you need to do to get yourself out of it? And so each of us is responsible for our own consciousness. And as we said yesterday, when your consciousness is whole and you are integrated within your own connection to spirit, you become a force for healing that radiates out and blesses everyone you touch without saying a word even. The power of your being connected to spirit is the greatest healing power in the world. Thank you for joining me. Love you lots. We'll be back again tomorrow. Hold the light. That's what we're doing.